Good morning. Today, in the third round on the CircularPSP tender, we are going to talk about the technical financial application. As before, it's recorded. Everything will be recorded. The Q&A will be recorded as well. Everything is being shared with you as usual. There's no big change. For those who come, the first time we have a drop in the number compared to the registration. So if you want to present yourself, please use the chat. Otherwise, Q&A at any time. You know it from past events that I try to look at it. If it is in context, I answer. If not, then I will come back to it. At the end of it, at the end of the presentation, we will open mics and hand raising function, etc. As well. So if you rather ask your questions in person, that's okay. If you rather write, that's also okay. What are we going to do? So we are going to briefly repeat the principles and terminology of the tender, just in case you have questions. Yeah, so consider it a trigger. Any general requirements on the PCP guidance, basically how the instrument works, and then obviously the tender submissions as such, including the core files you will have to submit. So, in summary, the topic today is this block. Last week, it's already recorded, we discussed the challenge brief and the technical application. And today we are going to discuss all the formal matters, selection criteria, as well as your financial offer. If need be, I haven't foreseen it, but if need be, we can also open the contracts. Yeah, I mean, yeah, let me say it. They are mostly based on UEC guidance. Some additions, which there might not be because we think they're helpful. In our case, the AI clauses, obviously, and with regard to whatever is the PCP instruments refers to, the EC wishes to basically implement what there is in the guidance. You'll remember that our publication has been delayed a little bit because the European Commission just with our review issued a new guidance. So we revised our framework agreement, and there is a little bit of room to define periods and so on within it. What I can say is that we have been the most lenient we could be. Yeah. For instance, on the duration of exploitation, effort required, and so on and so on. So if you have questions, ask the questions, but even though the terms will have to be signed once you win, yeah, we can only clarify what you might have to ask. With this, I leave it unless you have questions and focus on the submission, on the tender, initial tender at first. Okay. The PCP process. I think by now everybody understands that it is a competitive procedure, which means that it's not only an initial tender, but that there is competition also throughout the phases. In the first phase, we expect 5 offers. If 5 offers are so cheap that there is room for a 6th offer, and there is a 6th offer which is eligible and with sufficient quality, then it would become 6 suppliers. But I presume it is unlikely, given the sums we are tendering. So, in the sense that the saving must be very huge, pretty big from the 5 first suppliers. So, yeah, 5 to be expected, and then it will become 3 after call-offs, and then it will become at least 2 in the final phase. There's always the option that PCP is followed up by a PPI, which is another innovation procurement instrument, but with less funding, where the procurers, so basically our side, would have to invest more as I stated in the tender launch, in this case, could be, but it's less likely, let's put it this way. Yeah. We will see during phase 2, at the latest during phase 3, what it is, and we will always do what's best for everybody in this case, because both procurers and suppliers will be sitting in the same boat. We want a product at the end of it which is affordable and is used by many people. So if a PPI is required, we will always do our best to get a PPI in order to make sure that your innovation is developed so far that it's cheap enough to be actually taken up by the market. Then the funding principles. What we are providing is a direct financial tender. It is not a grant, even though CircularPSP project itself is a grant project. You are in a tender relationship. So you will provide offers up to the ceiling, and the ceiling is indeed the ceiling you will be paid. There is no VAT. On the Turkish law permits, whatever, that there is a VAT exemption for such projects. So basically, what you offer is what you will get. Your offer, your financial offer, I will say more about this later on the details, but in principle, it has to include all the costs. Yeah, it cannot be that you come later and say, but I also had costs of. No, you should have provided these in the financial offer. There's no follow-up negotiations or anything. The first phase offer is binding. After that, you give us indicative numbers clearly, and they don't matter for the evaluation, but you should plan them. Yeah. And then once for the successful bidders, there is a payment based on your price. And for this, there's a payment schedule. I had missed to include this in the launch event. You have seen it in table 17, it is in the TD1. Basically, for the first phase, because it's so short, there's no pre-financing for you, but for phase 2 and 3, because we understand that there are research organizations or SMEs bidding, even though it's a tender and it is highly unusual in tenders, we will provide you with pre-financing. Yeah? Basically, in month 1, you will get a first payment. And then, I don't know what this one is doing here. It is based on your work, there are further payments. Yes. Now, on the core requirements for suppliers. So it's basically this eligibility, who can bid. Because of the new guidance, we have to restrict the tender to EU member states and Horizon Europe associated countries. Who these countries are is listed here. I don't know them by heart, so I rather not say it. I know that the UK has been added, is now added because they have signed. Both parties have signed the association agreement. This clearly is an important one because ReLondon is also one of the parties in the CircularPSP. Beyond that, there are multiple countries, including developing countries, which can join. Please check the list. This refers to all entities. No matter which role they play, it refers to all entities. Once you the subheading here that the minimum of 50% of R&D work needs to take place in the EU is kind of if you are located somewhere and if you are performing your work on location, this criterion is kind of empty. But should you have developers in other countries which are not there, then you have to adhere to this here, to the 50% rule that the core activities need to take place in the EU member states and associated countries. Yeah, what kind of organization you are is not relevant. It doesn't matter, provided you have the ability to provide us with the necessary guarantees. What kind of consortium will form? Doesn't matter. It can be single entity, it can be joint offer, it can be consortia, including subcontracting. If you are still searching for a consortium, yeah, use the matchmaking platform, etc., etc. Consider to build it yourself. Yeah, if you're super strong in platforms, for instance, then nobody is stopping you from finding a circular economy expert or finding an AI company to basically do it together with. For instance, yeah. Don't be shy to try to initiate. It does not necessarily mean that you're the final leader. It might be that you just need to find a partner who just wasn't aware of CircularPSP. Yeah, but all of this requires action on your side to kind of initiate the joint venture of bidding for this tender. On-off award criteria, I mean, there are selection criteria. Basically, you have to provide certain skills. And then there are on-off award criteria, which are unique to PCPs in a way. Consider them to be an extension of the selection criteria. Yeah, if you aren't able to do them, you need a partner to basically be able to prove that you are. In principle, this is easily documented. Yeah, there's no other core eligibility criteria, except for obviously the declaration of honor part. I'll come to this in a second. It is submitted via email. There is a deadline in Istanbul time. Please adhere to this. If you see 19 p.m., it's 19 p.m. in Istanbul, not wherever you are. Yeah, it's 19 p.m. in Hawaii is a little bit later than 19 p.m. in Istanbul. And this is the cutoff point. Everything beyond, we need to reject. Everything is in English. And now this item I've split because I've always said it, but it wasn't in writing. So suppliers keep their IPR provided they exploit results, yeah, which we assume that you will use your results to put a product on the market. But because you are allowed to keep your IPR, it implies that you need to give financial compensation to the procurers with reference to the value of the IP. Why? You may ask why. In a normal tender, the IP would automatically fall over to the procurer. Whoever procures R&D effort is the owner of R&D results. So you would not own IP. PCPs are different and not to be considered state aid, because otherwise it's a state aid. The state, the European Commission, by extension of the municipalities, gives basically money to a company to do something they can own. Yeah, so it's like this would be normally considered not to be fair. In order to circumvent this, you are basically making this procurement cheaper in a way that you give this compensation. I will show this in the financial offer, what this means, how this looks. There's also guidance in TD1 on it. Now, okay, there's a questions regarding we haven't updated this slide still. That's a mistake. Sorry, we will update this slide and add the price per supplier. So this A846K need to be divided by 5, and this is the ceiling. There's a table in TD1. I post it as a screenshot in the response. Sorry, I need to scroll. Yeah, okay, then Bart will paste the table. So for phase 1, the ceiling for any individual financial offer for phase 1 is 169,200. Yeah, that's your ceiling. This budget is the budget we have. Yeah? The price you give us, we don't know. It is unknown until we open your tender. It could be that everybody bids only, I'm giving on purpose a ridiculous number just to illustrate, 20,000. Then the 5,000, the 5 suppliers number would no longer be correct because we would always attempt to use up this PCP budget. That's why I said before, in theory, it could be more than 5 suppliers. If the first 5 offers are so cheap that we have room for a 6th supplier, we would do that. Yeah, I think this answers it. Yeah, you exactly wrote it. 846 divided by 5. Is that correct? Yes. So Bart will copy the table. It's the table number 6 on page 26 in the TD1, which gives you the exact numbers. Okay, the submission. So you know that there are. So this is in section 4 of the of TD1, which is basically the instruction manual for submitting the bid. Yeah. 2 are the terms, 3 are the conditions, 4 are basically the manual of submitting, and 5 are everything else, everything which kind of crisscrosses it. So these are the form, these are the documents. These documents are provided as a template by us. These documents are provided as a template by the European Commission. So there are links included in the TD1, and when you follow the link, you will get the newest version, and you just need to fill it out. If you have bid in public tenders before, most likely you have already filled it out. Yeah? So it's ready for you. So the content is, it's basically your legal capacity that you exist. It is an entity which is legal, which is a natural. I don't want to use it because it might be different in different languages, which is something we can interact with. Then obviously you provide someone needs to be paid, the lead contractor, so provide us with the banking details. The declaration of honor is basically the exclusion criteria, your guarantee regarding the exclusion criteria, plus a subcontractor. Plus a subcontractor statement, which you need to delete if you are a partner. This is because the legal relationship to the subcontractors does not directly exist, because there will not be, subcontractors will not be party to the framework agreement, but they need to provide a guarantee that they understand certain elements of the framework agreement. In order for you not to be able to have to create 2 documents and create something yourself, we basically have included it. Yeah. So if a subcontractor signs the declaration of honor, they will sign twice, I think, or not. I don't know. Definitely, they will make 2 statements: one, that they are free of conflict of interest, etc., etc., and the second, that they understand certain bits of the of the CircularPSP setup. This is simplification to most PCPs because in the past you had to do 2 things. Here it is only 1 document already provided in a template. Then there's the compliance on the on-off criteria, and then the power of attorney and yeah, liability, partner, lead procurer, forming a union, and then there are the templates. Yeah. Okay. This is all governed by TD5 in a way. It's also referred to in TD5. I will open the file later and also display it. This table, table 15, also directs you to the relevant sections as a link, even so you just need to press if you need to read it up. It is quite easy. Yeah? What you need to pay attention to is who needs to supply it. Yeah, who needs to provide us with something. When it comes to legal entity form, all members of the group, yeah, so all partners in the lead contractor The financial form, only one party will be paid, so only the lead tenderer. With regard to the declaration of order, honor anyone you involved in it. Regarding the honor award criteria, it's only the lead tenderer. Yeah, they basically guarantee that the project, the consortium as a whole, is capable of this. And then so it goes. From the templates, the offers, the identification, the technical offer, the financial offer, obviously there should only be one version. Yeah. So keep everything in this one file and new posts. Okay. Now, there is a table 16 almost directly below, which tells you in which format you should submit it. Yeah, so there's no page limit for this here, but there is a page limit for the technical tender, for instance. Some files must be searchable, worst searchable. Yeah, if you create a PDF, normally it is. It's almost impossible to exclude this option, but it must be searchable. It's simply for the fact that we will be confronted with many files, many pages, and if you want to quickly check something, then we would probably use search terms, and hence it must be word searchable. All of it will be submitted in one email with one zip archive, and some of it need to be signed. We do not mind in which way or form you sign them, digital or in copy, it doesn't matter. Yeah. The financial offer, please submit it in two files. Once as a PDF signed, and once as an XLS format. So then when we use your numbers, don't make silly copy paste typo mistakes, but that we can then use your numbers later on. Obviously, these two need to be identical. Yeah, there cannot be a difference. Now, how do you submit? Yeah. In the past, often these things would be put together into one big, huge file. We consider this messy. We consider this more work for you, more work for us, so we don't do it. No, we provide you with a zip archive, so you place the files. With multiple files, what is important is proper file naming, so it's actually easy to understand what there is. Yeah. We don't ask you for a table of contents or anything. We simply trust that you are able to name your files coherently. And for this, there's the suggestion to will decide tender acronym. Let's use the tender acronym. So it is distinguishable. This file belongs to the tender acronym. Which template it is. Something, maybe even saying what kind of template it is afterwards. And then if it is, there are multiple files for this, the declaration of honor, if you're in a consortium, there will be multiple TD3A files, clearly identifying to whom this file belongs. Yeah. Here, what is also important in this, it's not listed, it's not written, but it's important, is that by you providing us with separate files, things like digital signatures and so on don't break, because digital signatures break if you merge documents or something like that. So do not do that. It's actually here. It's stated above. Sorry, it's set here. So once signed, you place it correctly. At some point, you zip it, send it. You're done. How to place them? Typically, it is stated in TD5. I will show on later, or you check simply open the zip archive and look into the folders. Okay, the administrative section regarding the submission. So there is the TD5 file. It's a Word file because it requires content. Section 1, 2, 3 are really just an identification of who you are and kind of referring to the folders, yeah, that you have provided everything. It's your guarantee that you have done. If you haven't, if you've missed the file, if you've missed the signature, we will not exclude you for that. We will seek clarification. Yeah, but obviously, please try to avoid it. But don't be run scared that it is missing. We will presume it's a clerical error. It is something which went wrong, and it is fixable. There is obviously a limit to it. If you forget, I don't know, everything, then at some point it gets tricky to justify. You need to justify in a tender procedure, in a public tender procedure, that this was just something which can be remedied. So don't push it, but there is some room. When it comes to the section 4, is actually the only place where you will provide content. I describe this in a moment when I share the files. Okay, I will. This section 4 I will show after a while. I don't want to switch screens again and again. So what I will do now is I go through the rest, through the financial offer in brief, and then I will describe this after opening the files. So section 4 is basically your description of your consortium and the evidence for the selection criteria. Okay, the financial section. What is it? It's an Excel file which contains, you already see here, the red box, which are helping, but do not claim to be the ultimate word. Why? Because it's an Excel file, it could be changed, and if you change a formula, then obviously the warning no longer works. Yeah. So in its initial version, please consider this warnings and so on as indicative, as something you need to remember. But ultimately, it is your responsibility to check that the financial offer has everything in it. And here there is no leeway. It's a financial offer. Yeah. It is as submitted. You cannot make mistakes in it. You can at least, okay, there are some tiny mistakes you can make when it comes to, or they don't matter when it comes to, for instance, whether you switched units and price or something like that. Fine, but when it comes to the bigger numbers and the total and so on, there's no room for error. Yeah, so you need to make your financial offer correct. It's not very hard, let's be clear. But I'm just saying that just because you see warnings here, we do not take responsibility for you doing it right in a proper fashion. So what it includes is unit prices. This is how the offer is calculated, that a certain category of R&D staff has a hourly, daily, whatever rate by which it goes, and then how many units you basically use up. The unit prices are binding, so once you've set them, they are there, but you can always add new units. Yeah, you include a new category of staff we hadn't had before on the call off between phase 1 and 2, possible. And the price breakdown includes, the price for R&D services, any other costs, the location. I show it in the file again. Okay, I only highlight this first. So as I said before, there must be a financial compensation, and the prices you provide us are fixed for phase 1 and indicative for phase, this is a typo, 2 and 3. Sorry, we will share with you a file which is fixed. This is obviously 2 and 3. It's not 1 and 2, it's 2 and 3. The prices relevant for us for evaluation are the prices after compensation. Yeah. If you are an entity who is entirely convinced that whatever the circular economy solution will be, the market value will make you a unicorn, and hence you will invest 50 million in the development of it, it's fine as long as you bid below our ceiling. Yeah, obviously appreciate that if you would it would be so. It is really not an ability. I mean, yeah, we will check for the ceiling. Yep. Good. I realized that this was a logical mistake. I promised to show the files. I promised I show the files. When it comes to the Q&A, there's one question which already stands, which I need to answer. Okay, I need to switch screen. Please give me a minute. Okay. The administrative section in the as a Word template. This is what you have. You already saw this before. So in the beginning, the same principle, everything in pink is instructions, so please delete. So here, why does the Word template exist? Mostly in part because of this detail here that you provide us, clearly identify who are signatories, because from the identity form, it's not always clear, or might not be clear. And what you see here in section 1 to 3 is really basically the only statement is all your files are provided in the zip file, with the exception of this table. We cannot make it any simpler than that. What else there is the section 4. And here, if you have the file open at the same time, you will notice that the colors changed a little bit. These headings were formatted in green, which is confusing. Yeah, it was simply, we didn't notice it when we finalized the file. So we will update the package to clarify this and any other issues you might come up with, something you don't understand in the files, and we might fix. So the latest tomorrow, there will be an updated version of this file, not that it is critical. Yeah. What we have done is basically making this pink as well and making this black and making it as a statement so you can use it directly. This initial section basically needs only these two statements, that you will do, that you have a risk management plan and so on, and that you have a proper cover of for insurance for the contract. We need this as guarantees. It's also part of the framework agreement, so you will sign it later anyway. And so the rest here is descriptive of what is to follow. Yeah, no other content is expected at the top here. What then follows, and one can argue whether it should be this way or the other way around, but we think it's easier if we first be able to quickly tick off your selection criteria and then read your consortium as a whole, is that for each section you will provide your the evidence you require on the evidence we require for you to prove that you are, for instance, able to perform R&D development. Yep. My recommendation is not to write this first, but to first write indeed section 4.6, which is your consortium. So you would create an overview of your consortium, a nice graphic, which kind of makes it obvious they are for this. They, in this role, they interact, they come from wherever, I don't know. Something which makes it transparent and easily recognizable and easily memorable of who there is involved. And then you describe your consortium and your key staff. Yeah? In a short summary, this is like an abstract of what else is to follow. So 461 is really the highlights of what there is below. And this 462 is a suggested template for each organization. So you would copy this section multiple times and provide us with the detail for each company. Yeah. For each company, you give a description of who it is, and you list any kind of references. You give the key personnel, key R&D personnel, strictly speaking, the name and the short bio, all of which you probably have readily available. Please tailor it to this tender because that it makes sense in this context of this tender. Yeah, if you have done, I don't know, don't give examples. If you've done something else and it matters, then make it clear why it matters. This here, if it is relevant and helpful, please do. Within this file, we do not expect a full CV aside from the short bio, but the CV and attachment as part of the zip archive. Yeah, and here, whatever format you have, Europass is obviously easy for everybody because we are used to it. But a CV, a meaningful CV, which displays and documents the relevant expertise for this project, is sufficient. And then once, I mean, because this will grow and iterate and so on, once this is reasonably stable, my recommendation is to then do these sections and refer to it to the degree you can. Yeah? Write a summary, use your AI, I don't know, write a summary, why this matters for this year, and create links to whatever you've described in more detail below. Do not repeat extensively, just make it easy for us to say, yep, we believe you, you have this ability, selection criteria fulfilled. Next. So that's the content of this. I see a post with a question. In case of joint tender, could you please specify which documents require signatures from all legal representatives of all entities and which from all the appointed? Okay, I get to this question again when I switch back to the presentation so that I can show, and I think, yeah. So much for this. So strictly speaking, sections 1 to 3, you do not really do here, but you do via the files you have to provide, which are individual files and unique to each partner. Yeah, each of these files is only, which maybe answers the question, is only signed by one respective party. Yeah, let's say we partner up with Oracle. I don't know. Then Empirica will write a power of attorney for Oracle, and because they are the lead contractors, and so on. The declaration of honor, each party has to sign for themselves that they are free of conflict of interest, and so on. But I will come to this again, don't worry. And then section 4 is basically a description of the consortium and the necessary evidence that you are able to do it. This here is also an exercise in seeing any gaps you might have. Yeah, so don't take it too lightly. I think it shows you whether you are strong, or if you are with confidence. If you are able with confidence to write here, we are strong, we are strong, we are strong. Then you or we are not. Then you know, oops, the gap here. We maybe get someone else involved to cover this. Selection criteria exists for a reason. Yeah, it's not only to be there to tick off, but to make sure that the consortium being built are truly capable. Okay, and then the financial offer. No, the financial offer. It is an Excel file. As I said, here the notes and so on, please remove them before you submit, including the rows. We have entered for you the ceilings. We have entered for you basically what we can. And it repeats who is part of your tender. This table is always the same, so you only need to fill it out once and then copy paste it around. Let me start at the bottom. So there is a distinction between fees for staff and fees and other items. Yeah. If you have read the TD1 carefully or PSP guidance in general, then you know this category must be at least 50% or 50% or more. Yep. The majority has to be spent on staff. In this tender, this is pretty straightforward because it's a clear it's a research, it's a development tender. You're not buying any hard equipment or only little. Yeah. The other items include anything which is not staff. Yeah? If you have to pay licenses, if you have to buy something, if you have to travel, and so on. This 50% rule needs to be fulfilled for each phase, and in phase 3, it's more complicated that it is across the entire project, which gives you more levy, more room. But again, I don't expect that. I would typically not expect that B is all too full, but your limit is less than 50%. You know that. Okay, so if you enter something here, you enter as well the name, the staff category. Yeah, so it's basically the naming of your unit. Whether it's principal R&D staff, this is important because principal R&D staff needs to be take place in the Horizon Europe or associated countries. And then you give for whom does it apply and what kind of hourly, we have set hourly rates. Okay, I forgot that. That everything is units in hourly hours. And then you say the number of hours and you get automatically a price and a total. Yeah. So I give in something silly now. I just hear that you have a 100,000 hourly figure and 2 hours, then this would mean you are above your threshold. Yeah, you are above 200,000 is above 169,000, and not only that, you haven't given us any compensation. Since compensation is mandatory, the cell cannot be empty. No way. How much you value the CE solution for your research, taking everything into account, not the optimal estimate of everything going great, but if the project ends, you have something in your hand and it has some worth, and you might say, okay, it's worth 50,000. Then you would be below the price limit, and these warnings disappear. Yeah, that's basically what you are doing. And at the end of it, you say that, yeah, you sign it, and in whichever way, and give us to us a PDF, whether you print it, whether you sign it digitally, it doesn't matter. And please provide us with original Excel as well. So this is binding. Phase 1, you fill in as is it. Because this number here, your total here, will be taken directly into the specific contract. That's the sum up to which we will be paying you. For phase 2 and 3, you give us an indication. It is the complement of section 3 of your technical offer, because there you basically describe the work you plan in the project. So you will have foresee certain resources being spent. Here you give the estimate, but this is not binding. Yeah. I repeat, it is not binding. You give an estimate. It should be a good estimate. It also gives us confidence that you plan. But if you modify it during the call-off, this is okay. Only with the submitted offer, when this box here moves here and here, will it become a binding offer. Okay, just check. Okay, the question on at the phase 1, we only have to fill in the respective cell for phase 1, or do we have to provide rough estimates for the next phases? Yes. Yes, you can update, as I said. Yeah, perfect, good. And then the question which refers to the documents. So I will jump back from Patrizia. What happens if partners have similar competences? Do we write that down, or do we structure that way that each partner has complementary competences only? No, repeat it. I mean, that's fine. Everybody, I didn't say one statement. So the selection criteria need to be fulfilled as a consortium. Yeah, your consortium needs to fulfill the selection criteria. It's actually an important concept. It does not mean that each partner individually needs to fulfill the consortium. The consortium as a whole needs to do it. If multiple partners contribute to this, then mention them all. That's okay. Yeah. When it comes to writing your summaries here, and you write it up and then make clear what is good about them, what they're for, and so on. Here in this part, it actually, they could look equally. It would be still a little bit awkward, but it could look equally. Ultimately, through the section 3 in the technical offer, you tell us which role they play. If two entities do exactly the same, because they can do the same things, that is strange. Yeah, why do they both exist? So you would need to explain it a little bit. You need to motivate it, because they cooperate on this or whatever. So do not undersell your consortium. Do not oversell your consortium. But if people can do more than one thing, then sure. You do not. Otherwise, you would be hiding information from us. So not making it easy for us to get. Yeah, I mean, it's not hidden. We could research it, everything. But no, describe your consortium as it is. It's all fine and well. We do not ask you for a messy, perfect puzzle or something like that. If there are overlaps, there are overlaps. That's okay. Here, in the consortium description, in your description of your work plan, it should be distinguishable. Yeah, we should be able to understand who does what. Otherwise, if we don't understand, most likely you will not understand when you're performing the project ultimately. Anonymous user followed up. You just answered my question regarding the cells in the financial offer. You do not need an indication for later phase. You do need an indication for the phases, but later on it's up to negotiation. This I have to disagree with. There is no negotiation. Yeah. What you will do is that in month 4 of phase 1, you will provide us with a new offer. Okay, maybe I should have explained this with a chart. I will skip back to the presentation again and explain this with the call-offs. It's missing. Or it's only implied, but not explicit. Okay. So here you already see the updated figure. And then we will also add 2 boxes at the top here, stating that there are call-offs. So at phase 1, you see here 4 + 1 months. Yeah, it's on purpose. The final month is basically for reporting. The main work will have been done in by the end of month 4. And at the end of month 4, you will provide us with an offer for phase 2. Yeah, so we'll basically resubmit all the technical offer and the financial offer. The admin offer, you will not have to resubmit, only if something changed. Yeah, for phase 2, you add a new subcontractor, then obviously you need to provide us with their declaration of honor. But in any other case, you will not. So in the call-off, you will provide us with an updated technical offer and the financial offer, which is extended by the binding costs for phase 2. When I say updated technical offer, I obviously not only mean that you took the initial offer and updated it. You have been working on the content in the meantime. You remember this flow of the deliverables. So you have been working on the technical solution. So your technical offer will be more based on D11 than it will be based on the initial offer, yeah, or a combination of both. So that you describe the solution as you foresee it now, after 4 months working on it and having received 170,000 in funding. And hence, you know better, you have revised, refined, added any content which is required in phase for the second call off, for the first call off. The same story repeats here, yeah? So between these two phases, it repeats. And then we will take your, we will evaluate your technical offer. We will use the price you have given us for phase 2. And again, this price for phase 2 will go straight into the specific contract for phase 2. And the same as now. Yeah. Okay, on the call off, we will add a slide. We will add a slide for the call offs, okay? That will be required at the call offs. It is described in the tender document. I have now switched. Okay, I will go back to the PDF to show you where it is. So when you read the tender, you will notice that there's the tender content, yeah, for one, for instance. And then at the very bottom of each section, you will find section call-offs. And it basically states what happens with this section during call-offs. Yeah. So here, from what I just said, for the administrative section, provided it remains unchanged, you will not have to resubmit it. Only the new information will have to be resubmitted. In case of the technical offer, you have to resubmit, plus taking into consideration that the technical offer, our template might change, and that the challenge brief requires a little bit more information for the call-off. For instance, there will be an additional sub-criterion on the commercial feasibility. Okay, then there was one I skipped. Aha. In case of joint offers, could you specify which documents require signatures from all legal representatives of all entities and which from only the appointed? Okay, I'm not entirely sure I get this question, but let me answer it one way. All these documents are for one party. Yeah, you do not have to sign a consortium agreement like it would be done in a grant, for instance. In a grant, what you do is with the European Commission, that the European Commission invites you, and then all the parties have to sign it. In this tender, in tenders in general, I would claim, this does not happen. Yeah? What happens is that the members of the group sign a power of attorney to the lead contractor, and they say, hey, lead contractor, we are with you. Hey, lead contractor, we want you to pay us, involve us, and yeah, we take liability with you. And that's enough as a proof for it. Yeah. Since you've given the power of attorney, by default, should you win, the lead contractor has the power to sign the framework agreement on behalf of the entire consortium. So signatures will only be bilateral in the sense that that you sign for, or maybe, I don't know, I open the power of attorney just to be sure, because in the power of attorney, it might have to be signed by both parties. I don't know anymore. No, it's only signed by one party, by this party who gives the power of attorney to someone. Yeah. So, and this needs to, of this file, there will be multiple copies. You can also, I confused myself. Yeah, yeah. I mean, there you could also do a power of attorney with everybody signing. You can do this, and you can include other things you want to regulate between each other. Like, I don't know, you could do that, but I think this allows you to mandating one of the partners in a CircularPSP joint procurement as a lead contractor. So one entity needs to sign it. What it needs to include is the full information. Okay, it needs to include all names of all suppliers in the consortium. Yeah? So the consortium must be defined before you are able to sign it. Another reason why I always encourage you to build your consortium early to get these formal things out of the way. So the entity of the consortium must be known before you can sign it, but there is no crisscross referencing and crisscross signing. The same applies for the declaration of honor. It's quite straightforward because only you as an entity can sign on behalf of your entity that you are free of conflict of interest. And the award criteria, on-off award criteria are only signed by the lead procurer and nobody else. The lead procurer does it on behalf of everybody. Yeah, we say yes. We guarantee that, yes. Are there any restrictions on the lead tenderer, e.g. minimum turnover and so on? No, we don't have financial selection criteria as such. So in principle, anyone could do it, but take note that this volume of the framework agreement is over 2 years and is almost 3 million, 2.7 or something million. So for any given winning consortium across the 3 phases. So an entity which just has been created last year with only one person might look weird, yeah, whether your statement that we are able to take all the insurance and so on are believable. So we will seek clarification in such an instance on how this is possible rather than anything. So there are no direct eligibility criteria for this, but some follow. Yeah, you must be able to perform it, which follows through the selection criteria, on-off award criteria, and so on and so on. Yeah. There was still one question I haven't answered. No, I have now with the document signature. I have done this now. Okay, then I would jump back for the presentation. I will present one more slide regarding a question which has been asked last week and to which we slightly modify the answer to. We already have via the newsletter, and here comes a little bit more detail on it. The question, can an entity participate in more than one offer? If you have been present last week, my initial response was no. Obviously, we understand that in the ICT world, it might be sometimes easier if this weren't the case. Yeah, if the criteria if we wouldn't answer this so straight. So we researched. Yeah, we researched, and what you see now is the most lenient expression of what is possible in Turkish law. Yeah, don't push it further than that. So I answered this in 3 steps. The first step is that as a single tenderer partner in a consortium, here we just clarify that in principle this is impossible. You cannot, but it might be that you are a huge organization with multiple units who never interact. Yeah, if this is so, then and you might not even know that you've both bid because you don't coordinate. Yeah? So you wouldn't know. We clearly wouldn't exclude such a case and throw 2 bids out of the window just because you haven't talked to each other before. As you intend to not talk to each other within one another, and we would seek guarantee for that. Yeah? So this is the initial state. Now about subcontractors, you see that we added a little bit. The red is what we've added to what we have written in the email already. Yeah. So here was a word more before, which was maybe misleading, so we took it out. As subcontractors, it is in general more possible, but there is other constraint on subcontractors is that they shouldn't do highly important, relevant R&D work. Nevertheless, in an IT world, there might be some service you want to include in your solution, in your technical solution, and for which you need to require support, help desk, or maintenance and customization support, and so on. And because they are not mega big with super packaged provision, it is typically done as a subcontract. Yeah. In any such instance, provided the R&D work is with the other parties, not with the subcontractors, we would, in principle, allow it. And again, we would not throw anyone out. With the addition that the Turkish competition law is extremely strict, and hence this addition in the in red, that should 2 consortia win with the same subcontractor, and it would emerge that indeed they are somehow coordinating, or indeed there is somehow competition being affected by the fact that whatever, I don't want to give an example, then you might be asked to kind of maybe replace a subcontractor or not, yeah, at any given moment. This is to stop any questions regarding the competition of this procedure. And here, the reminder, the procedure competition does not end with the tender being finished, but the competition continues until the end of the project. Yeah? At the end of the project, there must be 2 consortia which still compete with one another with regard to which is the better solution. So any kind of coordination between the 2 is not possible. Otherwise, our entire project folds, and this affects you as well. So we need to prevent any such situation. But again, we would not throw out any bids which have the same subcontractor. We would see who wins, and if to win, then we would be lenient in seeing what happens. But if it gets too messy, then we might approach you and talk. As soon as phase 1 starts, there will be a kickoff. We will be talking to one another. Yeah, so we will be face to face. It is not like it will be the European Court of Justice or something very far away. We will be talking to each other. As an alternative, just as a reminder, that for any kind such instance of a subcontractor, it might be that you don't need to subcontract them, that you just buy it. Yeah, that you buy it as a product and put it into category B of the financial offer. As I said before, you need to limit this in the sum, yeah, because it doesn't look good if money is just flowing out of your consortium and is spent elsewhere with little possibility to influence it or accountability. But obviously, this is still an option that you could, and should the red situation above emerge, that this is resolved in such a fashion. Again, this is the most lenient way you can describe it. We will not exclude any offers, any bids in any such situations. The only exception is if a tenderer submits 2 bids, then they're out. That's illegal. I mean, the lead contractor. Yeah, but make it as easy as you can for us as well. Good. Please open the mic. And if you have questions, please ask. If you say, I don't understand on page, whatever, paragraph, whatever, I am happy to open it. Yeah. And we look at it. Otherwise, please post in the Q&A. You can raise your hand. Okay. Good. Okay, Patricia, please.
Hi, everyone. My question is, because you mentioned every entity, it could be any entity. What happens if we want to have an entity in our consortium, which is a municipal entity? Is that possible or is it not possible? For reasons of building the solution we believe in helps to scale it.
Yeah. Look. Okay, this is not easy to answer, and I don't know what the procurers think about it, and the buyers group thinks about it. I can only give you the rationale in response. Firstly, this in such an instance, whoever it is, I mean, needs to add to the consortium. It needs to add to the development of the CE solution. So they basically are contributing to the R&D. In such an instance, I could say, I don't know, they have a research department and whatever, which kind of, or extremely high data set, super great data set, which you can tap into and you can then utilize to train your AI or whatever. This is understandable. The way you just phrased it, and I don't know whether you meant it, that's why I just refer to that. You said to scale it. This is not convincing because you cannot pay your customer to basically to tell that you scale it by that. If you have any such city who is interested and wants to follow you and whatever, then tell us and we approach them and we make them a part of the follower network and we include them and we will give them access to you will then give access to your solution during phase 3 to check, and then they would be ready for chorus once the project has ended. So the scalability argument in the sense of only with them involved, will it be possible to scale is strange. at first, because there are other ways, and there's no need for other cities to pay another city to do that. Because our cities, the 7-8 cities which have been in the buyers group, have been doing a lot over the past year to achieve that. Yet, if they have an asset which is critical to the R&D solution development, there might be a case for it. Yeah, so really think what the reason is to do it. And still, I mean, it would not, in principle, exclude you. Let me be clear: it would not necessarily exclude you, but we haven't said any such thing. Ultimately, it would increase your price probably, or rather take away resources you could spend elsewhere. And if this is all still fine and you rank high, then this is the result. It's, again, there's no reason why we would be able to take you out. But think about the story and what the role. This is what they said many times. What the role is the party plays in the in it. Okay, when you say scalability, I'm thinking live. Yeah, you see me thinking. You might also think about commercialization and whatever not. Okay. I can see ways how this is possible. Yeah. I can't give you a clear answer.
Okay, so I thought maybe I framed it wrong. What I meant is, if let's say it's an NGO, for example, which closely works and already provided best practices concerning circularity, but they're close to cities actually because they work for them. If that is a problem.
No,
because absolutely. Of the buyer side. Okay.
No. Okay, so my rambling, I should have asked back first. It's always better to ask. No, this is absolutely, they are perfectly capable. I mean, they are doing it. So you would get someone on board who is actually doing it, knows the customer well, knows the topic well. So no, this is absolutely suitable. It's fine.
Thank you.
How they are funded, otherwise, whatever, we don't care. They just need to be established as in the right way. Ulas, please.
Hello. Thank you very much for the very prompt explanations and step-by-step approach. I'd like to respond on Patricia's question because I have a similar question. In Istanbul case, there are municipally owned companies. So when you look on paper, they are incorporated company, but their shares are owned by the city and they are contracted by the city. So we have experience in the past on several EU projects. So we have somehow, I'll make an analogy, like a strange quantum physics dynamics, like that entity can be counted as public authority on the one hand and commercial authority on the other hand, but there was some how can I say, conflicts. And you were highly right that some of the companies has strange and good competences, but then it comes to the resource dependency phenomena, which is, you're fully right. So I think maybe in a written form of questions, this can be clarified. Maybe some other cities in Europe has this city-owned company urban management model. But the confusion comes from this two perception, or city can have some centers, can own some centers, which looks like that it's not owned by the city or kind of quasi-governmental perception. But in terms of, since it's a kind of legal tender under the EU and Turkish law, then it will be nice not to do wrong things. So this is my response, and I expect maybe in a written form this could be clarified. Thank you.
Okay, so response is your take on it. If you have a question, please submit it. That's fine. My reaction to this is how the entity is established, whether it is some, I mean, Someone is typing, sorry. Any such entity is in principle eligible and can bid. Yeah, some research center of whatever. I mean, famous example is the Amsterdam city. Amsterdam city has such things, for instance. Yeah, so this is not a problem. In the name you just mentioned, there is another issue. It's conflict of interest. Yeah, in the case of Istanbul, Istanbul is part of the buyers group, so this applies to all the 7 cities who constitute the buyers group. They would be in a conflict of interest, and this for them to claim that you are not in a conflict of interest in description of honor is potentially tricky, and you would need to explain it. I can't give you a straight answer because for this, what the rules are and where it ends would be something each procurer would have to say, because I don't know them. But yeah, if you set this as a question, should this be a specific case? Yeah, not in a theoretical case, please, because then we would be answering hundreds of questions. But in a specific case, we are considering entity X, which is in such and such relationship, then we would do our best to answer this question before the bids need to be submitted. Eamon, sorry, I don't know exactly how to say it.
That's okay. It's Eamon. Yeah.
Eamon.
So I'm with Darwin and Goliath, based in Ireland. You know, I know you went through it here, and obviously you can read through the documentation. But just if you don't mind going into a tiny bit more detail on the process of the IP negotiation, like how you would see that process going, as you were mentioning, you know, payment for, you know, IP and those processes. Could you just clarify the actual kind of timing and processes, which phase that would be in, and what those processes would be like?
Okay. Okay, so there is no negotiation. Yeah, this is really the statement, general statement. There's no negotiation. With the offer, you tell us what is your IP you already own. This is called background. So in the technical offer, you state, hey, Circular PSP, I want to develop this foreground, and I will use this background. Yeah. So kind of clearly identifying what your IP already is, and it will remain. Yeah. If you develop it in the meantime and it grows and whatever, this is fine. This is obviously, we are in a dynamic world, nothing is static. So, but it will remain background. What you describe in the technical section at the top is foreground, and will therefore be IP shared. IP shared means at first nothing. Yeah, it means that you have the IP. This is the standard case. The IP remains with you. Yeah? Now payments, you say, okay, on top. So we expect certain results in each phase. So you will be working towards this result, basically building this IP. Yeah. If you do it well enough, you will get paid. If you do it in a promising fashion, you will be eligible for the next phase. Yeah. So certain things need to be finished by the end of phase 1 so that we know, yeah, you worked, it is good, and so on. So in this instance, still the IP is yours. It's yours. We just pay you for having done the work in the project as promised. We move through the phases. Everything remains the same. Now the part starts where the sharing becomes relevant, which is at the end of the project. Yeah, at the end of the project, there are 2 distinctions. One, you cannot suddenly exclude the procurers. Yeah, cannot take it away or whatever. The procurers, if there is something to be used and so on, then they will will have continued access to this result. In the In the framework agreement, we state that, for instance, that the operation should be guaranteed for some period. I don't remember anymore. So that they're not cut off the next day. Yeah, just because the project ends, no, everything finishes and we are flying around. I think it's 2 years. I don't know anymore. At the same time, I think it's 2 years. By the end of 2 years, you should be able to have provided sufficient evidence that you are indeed commercializing the solution. If you have done so, the IP is still yours. Yeah, you have shown that you want to commercialize it. I mean, this is hopefully self-evident. Yeah, that there is a platform I can subscribe on a monthly basis, for instance, and I buy it. Then there's no evidence needed. Yeah, everything is clear. We would only seek such evidence. I phrase it wrongly. Yeah, the procurers, the buyers, if they wish, if they do, in 2 years after the end of the project, they could demand from you that you do your best to commercialize it. If you continue to fail, then they can demand from you basically whatever IP has not yet been shared. Yeah. If you say that a certain code is being developed for this project, then during the project, we don't care about the code. We only care about the executed platform we can use and we can log into. But after your duration of aiming to make it available to the procurers as a product or service, you still have not done it and you show no intent to do so, then they can demand of you to get access to the code so that they can host it themselves and do it. Let's be realistic here. Sometimes it might be inseparable of the background. And by conclusion, the buyers group then will still have to go back to you and buy some of your background or whatever to be able to utilize it. But this is at some future point. Yeah, this is no way to clarify. For the time being is you're saying, this is what we will generate. This does not exist. It's new IP. You procurers will have access. We want to give you the solution. You will have access to it. And we promise that you will ultimately have access to it as a product, as a viable product. If this series continues, nobody will ask you for any IP handover or whatever. If this fails after the end of the project, then there would be an exchange with any buyer, any procurer who wishes to do so with you and seek transfer. Was this clear?
Yeah, for the most part. So
yeah.
You had just mentioned payment during this call, so I wasn't clear if there was a financial transaction in regard to the IP.
This is already happened. Okay, I understand. Sorry, I understand. This already happened by you giving us a compensation.
Right.
Yeah. So okay, the answer could have been simpler. This already happened through you giving us the compensation. Yeah, because we expect that you invest more than what we are funding you with, because you say the IP is worth something. Yeah. And through the compensation, the buyers group has been already rewarded or compensated for not taking the IP away from you straight forward. This would be the standard case. You understand that the PCP is basically turning it around. Yeah, it's switching it around. Normally, it would be we give you money, you give us IP. In this case, it is we give you money to develop something, you share with us IP. For this, you give us make it a little bit cheaper for us, but you keep your IP.
Makes sense. Thank you.
It's complicated. The framework agreement, should you have been involved in freer PCPs, the text is much better. It's longer, but better. So Article 5, something in the framework agreement describes it step by step very clearly. Yeah, not an exciting read, but if this is what you worry about, then read this part.
Thank you.
yeah, it's maybe just check. Yes, it's Article 5. It's called Rights and Obligations Regarding Results, Foreground, Pre-existing Rights, Background, and Sideground, and related rights, including intellectual and intellectual property rights. So you see that it is not short, yeah, but it basically goes through all the motions of what happens when it is audit chronologically, as far as I remember, or in a way that it makes sense. So, yeah. Okay, I didn't say I just opened the file on purpose. Be remind because it's the admin document, because it's the admin and financial session, I should say it. The procedure can be cancelled. Yeah. For instance, if there is not enough competition. For instance, if the European Commission, it's not only up to us, says this is not enough innovation, and so on. So just because you entered phase 1 doesn't mean that the tender proceeds up until phase 3. Yeah, for now, it is there to be, but it can terminate at any point. And obviously, there's a appeal procedure, but it is not very formalized in the case of Turkey, so it's via courts. Patricia.
My question is, who evaluates the projects we reach in? And the background of the question is, I know we're not touching procurement platforms. I'm aware of that. Although we trying to find a way to connect our platform, which could be in preparation.
Yes.
And the question is, do the people or whoever evaluates it has a background in procurement law, because it differentiates in a way. I don't know if it's
okay. First, just as a caveat to what you just said, I mean, our communication in OMC, because at the time the problem was so huge, we were just working on it. We were pretty clear, procurement platforms, no. It's still procurement platforms is not necessarily what we seek. No, we do not seek a procurement platform, circular products or something like that. But yet the procurement part became more relevant again after we understood that if we do it in our way, we foresee that any given product is also able to provide support to procurement departments. Yeah, this is it's in a change brief in the organization section, operation, I don't know, on the feature of basically the tool being able to provide feedback on any procurement package, which is, if you already have a procurement package, obviously it's very close to a procurement platform. Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying that where this service is provided, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, it could be already within the procurement platform or whatever. I'm just saying this for that. As to who evaluates, yeah. So there is a section also evaluation procedure, which basically describes how the evaluation takes place. And the evaluation committee is formed by the buyers group. The buyers group, each procurer nominates several people to evaluate, and they include technical experts, admin experts, and already by default, there are multiple procurement experts in our consortium. Yeah, I mean, who basically came for this question into the project. And hence, discipline coverage are many. The ranking and the decisions is only made by the procurators. Only the procurators are able to rank your tenders, and they will read, each procurator will read all tenders, and each procurator will rank, score each tender according across all criteria. And we take this together, and then we rank your tender, also taking into account your price. The procurators are supported by experts, external experts who do not score but provide input. Experts include RISE, clearly, as well, our scientific partner, and external experts, mostly in the IT domain. RISE itself covers this procurement part we just asked. They do lots on that. The rest, I mean, here's a stepwise approach. Basically, these steps, I mean, really, there's no other way but to read it, is that how we will go about the clarification. Yeah? So basically, step 0, if you don't fail, you're in. And step 1, 2, 3, we will clarify in case we have questions. Step 4 is the technical assessment, and then obviously we at some point we take the financial offer into account and send out the results. I answered a bit more widely, Patricia, but I hope I covered what you asked.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, that's fine. I understood it.
Yeah.
So that we have to really take care on why to describe it.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
That's basically it. There is no, again, I mean, you remember this slide with this page, yeah? Our tender is technology neutral. It also means the setup neutral. Maybe I really need to change that. Setup neutral and approach neutral and concept neutral. If there's good reason for something, that's okay. Convince us. Yeah. Nobody. Only for this few formal criteria will we have to kick a consortium out. The rest we want to read and score. Yeah. So if the formal aspects are secured, then we will read your tender, we will evaluate your tender, and we will rank your tender. And if your tender is the best because your story fits, then there we go, or fifth best, whatever. So if it makes sense, sure. Yeah, but sense in the context of the challenge brief, obviously, yeah, not some other context. Okay, I'm randomly jumping around now on things I haven't said. I mean, what this also includes is that exceptions regarding the change of anything. Yeah, for partners it is pretty tricky. For subcontractors it is easier. I think we covered it. Because I haven't said it today yet, quality price ratio is 90-10. Yeah, extremely generous in a sense. We reward your work, let's put it this way, not the lowest number. Yeah. Okay, then I would just briefly, as a reminder, jump into the presentation if no other questions emerge. So we've here now finished our series in a way. Yeah, there was a tender launch event overview, technical application template on the challenge brief, on more detail. Today, now the formal parts. All of it is available. We will have at least one session on the 15th of February, a long window, just open without registration, where you, if you don't like to ask your questions in writing, if you rather ask your questions in person, and it's possible to answer them in person, we will basically answer them. Be invited, ask whatever technical, administrative, financial, whatever. You can ask anything. You can ask. We also are okay with such hypothetical question as just raised. You see that we answer them. Yeah. Others would probably just say no. I can't answer this until I've read it. We try to answer them if we can, but clearly there's a limit. Yeah, we cannot say we will not be able to answer a question like, will I get 6 or 7 points for that? Yeah, this will not happen. But any open question you have, please join and just answer. Just ask. Here it will be open. We will not record it, but obviously any question which has been raised will be documented in the FAQ. We want to record it because most of the time it's highly likely that for 1 hour there will be nobody in it in the meeting. So for this reason alone, matchmaking, you're already aware. I think it works perfectly. Again, sorry for the hiccup for anyone who has registered it during the hiccup. And yeah, we will keep you up to date on whatever is to emerge and evolve. Yeah, that's it from my side, from our side.
Thank you. These sessions have been very helpful.
I'm glad. I'm glad. It's yeah, it's sometimes tricky because obviously we are reacting, but I think by now we know. If I missed any question, I don't think so. Again, as a general reminder, the section 4 really as a manual, yeah, consider it. The challenge brief is the technical manual, and together with section 2.1, section 4 is really the manual for writing, submitting the tender, with the obviously the additional documentation provided through section 3. Yeah, what each criterion means and what each exclusion criteria, selection criterion means, and so on and so on. Which is not repeated. So I would say when you provide the section for 1 to 5 in TD5, you also need to have a look at section 3.3 in TD1. But it's not if the title isn't enough, if the heading, I mean the title heading isn't enough. But otherwise, I just run risk to repeat myself, and I rather enjoy lunch. If you have questions, ask in writing or join us in 20 days. Either is fine. And I wish you the best in writing your tenders, and we look forward to reading them. Have a good day. Thank you very much.